Every culture, every civilization basically uses everything that is unique to them, their language, the things they see in their natural environment, their spirituality, to basically grow themselves, grow the things that they've been accustomed to, grow their environment, grow their, technologically advanced or spiritually advanced. But this particular thing is as if in Igbo land it does not exist. The things that we have within our immediate environment, we basically use them not for something meaningful, but basically we use them to either suppress one another or basically use dangerous principles to manipulate or manifest our intentions, which are basically focused on material things or materialism. Like we basically exist in a society where if you don't have money, if you don't have cars, if you don't stay in a fancy environment, then you're a nobody. Even when you go for family functions, they would have to exalt the person that has money, even though you're older and you have something there, because the younger person is richer than you. They will even ask you to serve that younger person. Mind you, they're doing this because you don't have money. The moment you make money, you would see a change in how they interact with you. You will see the changes around you. It's not just, I know that this particular thing is not particular to Igbo culture, it's everywhere, but it's as if recently it's a huge thing for us because our society was built on the principles of communal living, communalism. But for some reason, we've shifted from that communal life to basically being too materialistic, seeking to collect not just our own, but what belongs to other people. And obviously in our cosmology, we usually institute some principles that are basically supposed to prevent these kinds of things. Now, some of those principles recently, they fight against people actually trying to use Ogu, configurations like this to basically manifest wealth. So this, for today, I want to talk about Okeite. Now, I know it's not a new thing, it's not even trending, trended like a few months back. Everybody was just being concerned about the menace of what Okeite can become if we leave them unchecked and if people continuously imbibe in this Okeite culture without having a redress. So if you're new to this channel, please click the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. Now this video is a request video, and if you want me to make similar videos, also tell me what you want me to work on and I'm going to do it. So first of all, what is Okeite? What is it first of all? So it's a form of charm or a form of jazz that people basically use. They configure them for one certain purpose. They want to basically use this owl for the purpose of manifesting and attracting wealth. That's the only thing it does. Now, Okeite is not a generic name because it's a kind or a category or a version of a charm or that basically attracts wealth to a person. Now, similar kinds of charm that falls into this Okeite category is things like Ibubo, things like Awele, things like Uduakomili, all those kinds of charm. Now they have a recent name for one which they basically manufactured or invented. They said it has not existed before, but suddenly they now have to bring this very particular specification and it's performing the same function as Okeite. They also have Okeite, a charm that we also call Munyite or Munyite. So these are like categories, and the main thing they do is basically to manifest wealth for people that basically engage in these kinds of Okeite activity. Now I want you to understand that first of all, Igbo, I wouldn't say that Igbo is our culture, but Obo is a generic name. I should have said it before in this channel, but Obo is a generic name. Now, if somebody is sick and I go to a modern hospital, they're going to administer some drugs to me. Now that Obo becomes an English name. The English equivalent of it is drug. So that's the generic name of what it is. But it's just one aspect of it. Now within that within Obo, we will now have subsets. Now Obo is a generic name because Okeite, being a particular kind of ogu, is something that our culture does not imbibe. Now, there are kinds of charms that people prepare for the sole purpose of saving their life or protecting their family. You would not categorize that kinds of charm under Ajo. Now, because Ogu is a generic name, we now have distinctions. Now, the distinctions that we have now, the first one now becomes Ezigbo Ogu. Those ones we just use the generic name Ogu. But when people are imbibing in a different version, which is the opposite of an Ezigbo Ogu, you will now look at it as Ajo Ogu. Now, Ajo Ogu are basically charms that people use because they want to, be malignant or basically show some level of wickedness on their neighbor. We call it Ajo Ogu. Now, we also have another category which we call Ogwike. Now, these kinds of charms, Ogwike, does not necessarily take the life of another person, but this particular Ogwike is a kind of charm that they use in this Okeite kind of category because they want to use it to, basically perform above human norms. Like, I am here now and I will just have the ability to, disappear and appear. I'm not talking about Ikwe. I will just disappear and appear without following the natural principles that would even lead me to basically have the ability to manifest a kili. But I just, concocted or used some kind of, mixtures, and basically through the help of that mixture, I can be able to appear, disappear at will. Charms that are targeted at manipulating people, like love charms, all those things are what we call Ogwike. And Okeite and all those other names that I mentioned earlier falls under the spectrum. So because the configuration of this Ajogu, Okeite, and Ibobo, and etc., because the configuration of these kinds of ogu do not necessarily require that you use human blood to basically activate, it becomes something of a sought after. People look for it because people want to make money without the consequences. They will tell you, okay, because if you look at the Nollywood movies that are being portrayed, you will see them using their mother, any other family members to basically use them as sacrifice for these kinds of manifestation. But with Okeite, you will see here that the people that go for these kinds of ogu, they're not necessarily using a human essence, a human blood to basically activate this ogu. And remember, Okeite basically is just a mixture, a concoction of different kinds of herb. Now, in our cosmology, in our spirituality, or in our society, we know that weeds or plants that we basically see everywhere, that the white man will call weed because it's unwanted and is not within a particular, the right place it's supposed to be. But in our cosmology, these Dibias actually understand the principles that are within those herbs. Now, a particular herb can have a particular principle or a certain particles that they can basically harness with a mixture of another herb. Then they're going to basically put it under the right circumstances, because all those things are very scientific. Now, a Libya gets two herbs that have different properties, brings an animal or brings maybe a dead animal, all these kinds of concoctions, and mix them together under a certain situation and gives it a command. That ogu is going to perform that particular thing that the Dibia has told or commanded it to do. So this is the ogu principle. This is how Okeite works. Now, when these Dibias go out there, they bring in these herbs, bring in all the items they need for this particular ogu. They configure it, say some certain words, and activate it with the essence of an animal. So because this is how Okeite works, many people just head dive into Okeite. Hence the reason why this particular ogu is now becoming popular. But because this ogu does not follow the principles of Ofunogu, the principles of the natural principles of Chinezumezu, it means that it's going to at some point backfire. Because what ogu does what this Okeite does in this situation is that it is not something your chi has commanded or commended you to do. It's something you want to do because of your greed or your lack of patience. So when you basically engage in this kind of charm, you're trying to defile the natural principle, which means you're bypassing the spiritual and ancestral forces that are guiding you, that are directing you. And the moment you've bypassed them, you're going against the natural principle. So this is why when you use this Okeite for a certain period of time, at some level it is going to backfire. Then the consequences associated with your initiation or activation of that particular charm Okeite will begin to manifest and affect you in your life. This is how it works. Now, what are the consequences of Okeite? Now, because at the point of reincarnation in Igbo culture, there's something that we refer to as Iyuwa. Now, because you've decided to basically go against your Iyuwa, which is the oath or the cosmic oath that you sign as you're about to reincarnate into this world. Now, because you're going against it, you don't know the exact time that your chi has predestined that your destiny Akalowa is going to manifest. Now, Okeite does not follow that principle of you learning, you having experiences, you learning how to grow wealth and maintain wealth. It just goes before you and drags something that has been written in your destiny and basically bypass all these lessons that you're supposed to learn in your life, and it basically just manifests wealth for you because this is what you want, and because you've given that an authority to basically manifest and perform in your life, every other ancestral or familiar spiritual forces around you would allow the charm to basically perform or basically do what it's supposed to do in your life. At this point where you've initiated the process of that owo, what happens here is that as nature will always have a way to basically conform or make us to conform. You have to give something at that point in order to receive. Because you've refused to learn or to follow the natural principle, it would cost you. So imagine a situation where your chi predestined that when you're going to manifest or have wealth is when you've gotten to a certain age, probably at age 50. Now, what is that catalyst that is going to happen at age 50? The catalyst there is probably there are some investments that you made that will probably ripen when you're at age 50, or probably there is a particular contract that is going to await you when you get to age 50. Now, every other thing you're going to be working in your life is you're going to be having experiences, you're going to be learning, you're going to have children, you're just going to be living your life awaiting that promised time, which is at age 50. Now, what happens here is that because that age 50 is when your chi have said that you're going to get this wealth. Now, at that point or getting to age 50, something would probably happen. Probably you would get or basically get into have money, or how would I put it now? Somebody could just come and give you money, dash you money, or just loan you money or donate money to you. Now, because that investment has been written that it's going to happen that way, immediately after that money has been given to you, you're going to be lucky enough to get that particular contract. Now, what's going to happen? You're going to use that money and invest it into that contract, and from that contract, you become a very wealthy human being. So I'm just giving an illustration here. So because this is how your chi has predestined that your life is going to turn out. Because believe it or not, every person that has been working or striving to survive in this life has a breaking point. So we do not know when that breaking point will occur, but that breaking point in our lives are when our chi has destined that these kinds of things are going to manifest for us. So what happens here is that the moment you invite Okeite or give Okeite the authority to basically do things for you, Okeite would go down to that age 50 that you've been predestined to basically have money or make money. It is going to drag that wealth for you from age 50, probably you're 25, 30. It will drag that money up to the level or the point in your life when you initiated the owu. Now, once Okeite has dragged or brought that money closer to you, it is going to slash off a very reasonable amount years out of your life. Now it doesn't just end there. Now, because there are events that are supposed to happen in your life which at that age 50 that you did not allow to manifest or wait for, what's going to happen here is that money that you've gotten at 25, 30, you cannot use it to perform any reasonable thing. So as you cannot use that money to basically do something that is more reasonable, you will see yourself engaging in womanizing. You see yourself engaging in very demoralizing or very nasty behaviors that would make sure that money that you are manifesting at this certain age, when you do not have the necessary experiences, it is going to mean that money would not basically be used for something productive. And before you get down to the age of so that money will no longer exist. So this is how the karma process works. And the second thing that this Okeite is going to do for you is that it is going to make sure that your children do not have a good destiny. You cannot reap where you did not sow. Now, getting money from Okeite basically also means that you're wealthy enough not to basically know how to raise and train your children. Because if your children would grow in that wealth, then the tendency that you're going to, because probably you did not grow with wealth, you didn't really understand the principles of money, you're most likely to abuse that money, especially when it comes to your children. So when that happens, when they get to the age where they're supposed to be human beings, you will see them not performing or reasoning like human beings. They become to frustrate your life, and the result is because of Okeite that you basically initiated. And to an extent, because of that Okeite which you initiated, then it is going to affect your children. So because even that, without the Okeite being functional, it now exists in that family, because that family, you have not become a product of that particular configuration. Now it becomes a problem when it is within that family. It starts making the children to be useless. The children are very abusive. They don't really understand their life, and they can't even use their life to do anything reasonable. Now the third thing Okeite will do to you is it could make you barren. Now the Dibias will tell you that when a pregnant woman goes to a Dibia's house, or they would want pregnant women not to always go to a Dibia's house when they are not sure of the death of the Dibia, because the Dibia can be a person that is involving in these kinds of charm. Now, without the Dibia even knowing what is happening, now a pregnant woman could come to the Dibia and lose that pregnancy. Now, if this thing is something that somebody brings into his or her family, what is going to happen is that Okeite will basically begin to take the children. It's going to cause barrenness for the people that basically involve themselves in Okeite. Now, the fourth thing Okeite is going to do, Okeite could start feeding on your siblings or every other persons around you without you. We call it Madeba Monsu, Manomalo no Ba Monsu. You become an Amonsu without even knowing that you've been turned into an Amonsu, because that Ogo is now Amonsu and it's manifesting through you. Now, at the end of the day, these things are capable of making a person useless, because you know that at some level you've engaged, you've made a certain amount of money, and with it comes some level of pride. Especially when you're losing that money, you will not see the need, or your pride or ego will not allow you to settle and basically try to learn any other skill and use that other skills to basically try to start all over. Now ego, pride comes in play, and because you know people that used to call you Oga, sir, they will start looking down on you. You basically affect these kinds of people. So there are very numerous consequences of Okeite. The truth here is that no reasonable Dibia ordinary would encourage you to dabble into Okeite or to dabble into any charm that is targeted at manifesting wealth. What they are going to do is they will tell you to follow the natural principles of Chinezumezu. Know about your Chi, learn about your Chi, understand your Chi, and follow your Chi and your Awu. Because Awu literally translates to a person's Akonuche. So this is what a Dibia is supposed to advise you on. And then occasionally he's going to also advise you to perform rituals of Obonuke, the process of caging down some very nasty negative energies that every individual is supposed to, basically perform. So these are the simple things that we basically do in ordinary. Now, when we want to now basically outshine or outdo our natural principles, this is when we start engaging in Owo and Owo activities. So I hope you got some value in this video, and if you like this kinds of content, don't forget to subscribe or follow me up on my socials. And I have an article about Okeite on my blog, so you can just basically check it out and learn more and know that it is good to basically abstain in things that your chi or not necessarily Igbo, but they are too dubious or great for you to handle. Just follow the natural things that people do, and all is going to be well. So until next time, yeah guys, yeah.